From the mess hall of the Joliet Correctional Facility, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men on a mission from God, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
I see you're doing the Jared Leto there. You're taking the microphone out of the stand and you're going handheld with it.
See, when you missed our LA Film Critics Association dinner, you didn't see Jared Leto give his speech.
I did. I watched it streaming.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was putting a baby to sleep. I had the baby in my arms, and I was rocking her to sleep, and I'm watching the streaming with the headphones on, and I saw the whole deal.
Oh.
Yeah.
And now did you see James Franco mispronounce
yeah.
Jared Leto's name, and then Jared Leto from the back goes,
"It's Leto." And then Leto goes up and says, "I want to thank James Franco." It's brilliant. It's hysterical.
Oh, it's too funny.
That was really good.
You know, actually, we have the Big Deal Oscar winner on Blu-ray this week to talk about. Yes, we do.
Let's talk about the Oscars. We didn't talk about it last week because we pre-recorded the show before the Oscars.
Yeah, sorry, guys. We pre-recorded the show before the Oscars. Because I have to work the day of the Oscars. Yeah. It's a long day for me. And I got to get ready for it. So we're talking about it now.
Yes, we are.
And I have to say that I think ultimately everything turned out as it should.
I agree, and you know what? There's a thing that's happening right now. It's funny because 12 Years a Slave is suffering kind of a weird backlash in a way that no other picture gets, and I think it's because of the racial thing. I think there are a lot of people that are out there like, it just won because it's about slavery. Well, nobody said Schindler's List only won because it's about the Holocaust. They didn't. They were like, oh, well, Spielberg is due, you know? So I think there's an unfair double standard being applied to this. And that story that broke about like, oh my gosh, Academy members say they voted for 12 Years a Slave without even watching it. I mean,
yeah.
It happens every year. This isn't like this is suddenly the first year where people are voting for. Do you honestly think that in 1989 that everybody saw Rain Man, or do you think that there were maybe some members of the Academy that are like Dustin Hoffman, Barry Levinson, Tom Cruise? I like those guys. Check mark.
Or
I mean, come on.
Or they gave all the screeners to their housekeeper.
Yeah.
And they said, you watch it, what'd you like?
I guarantee you, in 1983, or it was, 1983, I guarantee you, tons of Academy members voted for Gandhi without sitting through all 3 hours of the movie. They're like, it's about Gandhi. Got to give it to Gandhi. You know, if E.T. beats Gandhi, we'll never live it down. But so they gave it to Gandhi.
Well, here's the thing. In the internet age of millions of blogs and movie sites, when people can just talk themselves into the ground with all these theories, and everybody wants to be interviewed, you can always get some piece of gossip. You know what I mean? I mean,
the bottom line is, as I have always said, don't look to the Oscars to validate what you think is the best picture of the year or is a classic or whatever. The Oscars represent only one thing. They are a snapshot in time of what the elite members of the film industry think is valuable among their own. That's all it is. That's all it tells you. It just tells you what do people who are making movies at a given point in time, what do they like? As opposed to the stuff they make, what do they like to watch? And what do they think is valuable? What do they think is artistic? What do they think is meaningful? That's all it is. And if that's interesting to you, to me it's interesting from a historical, scholarly standpoint. If I look back in time to see what the filmmaking community valued in 1956 versus what they value today, it makes for an interesting study in the evolution of the industry. But anybody who's looking to validate it, look, Kubrick never won a Best Director. He never won a Best Picture.
Well, look, because people look at the Oscars.
Neither did Chaplin. Neither did Keaton. Neither did Lubitsch.
Michael Keaton?
Exactly.
Because people look at the Oscars as if it's some Supreme Court that knows more, sees more, is like this oracle that's telling you what the best picture of the year is from an artistic standpoint. Like Minority Report. It's like, imagine like 6,000 Minority Report people sitting in those little pods of water deciding what the best picture is. It's not that.
And seriously, could somebody cut us a break on, the show's always so long. How long do they want it to actually be? I mean, that you hand out 24 awards. There are 24 categories.
I want it to be like a high school graduation. They call the name of the category.
just walk up and hand it out.
That's it.
I mean, you've got 24 categories. Okay, so right there, if you're looking at a 3-hour show, let's backtrack it. If you just assume to read the names, have the people who introduce it do a little bit of banter, and then the person goes up and gives a speech. If you assume 3 minutes per award, okay. That already there is 75 minutes. You add commercials into that, okay, that's already like an hour and 45 minutes minimum. Okay, you add the opening monologue. You add a bunch of you add a bunch of songs. You know, you add some little interlude montages. You add the in memoriam. I mean, you're at 2.5 hours.
They have
minimum, and that's the shortest the show has ever been. And those shows that clock out at 2.5 hours. There was one like about 3 years ago that came in at about 2:40 or something like that. It felt ridiculous. I felt like I went to a great restaurant and I ate a Big Mac. It just didn't feel, I mean, I want to feel the wait for an evening, 3 hours is right, 3.5 hours is fine. Who are these people that are bitching? What do you want? Gosh.
By the way, may I just say, Ellen DeGeneres, dud.
See, I liked it.
Soft.
She's
soft.
She is soft, but would you rather have soft but sincere and funny, or would you rather have James Franco standing around just looking like, hey, man?
Okay, if those are my choices, I mean, come on. What you're saying is, would you rather have Ellen DeGeneres or like Ricky Gervais?
Anyway, speaking of James Franco,
yes.
Just saw a movie the other day that he has a cameo in. I'll be talking about it on the 14th on Film Week. KCCC.
You saw a movie?
I did. We got a ton of movies for Film Week. Yeah, I will be talking about this. It's a significant movie that confused the hell out of me. But James Franco has a cameo, or a cameo. James Franco has a cameo. And I won't mention what movie it is, but tune in to Film Week, the podcast, or even at scpr.org on the 14th. And I'll tell you all about it, because that's going to be really interesting. Man, I just... this week, the crap I have to sit and watch this next week for Film Week is just mind-boggling.
Grand Budapest Hotel is terrific.
And I haven't seen it.
You've got to see it.
I know I got to see it. I've been too busy.
Wes Anderson is on such a mid-career role right now.
And I'm so happy.
But you didn't like Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love that.
But I'm happy. I really liked Moonrise Kingdom, and what I'm really looking forward to in Grand Budapest, tell me if I'm wrong, it's very Lubitsch-like, right?
Well, it's funny. People have been comparing it to Be or Not to Be. My thing is that To Be or Not to Be to me was like a very, it seemed like it was really poking its finger at Hitler and the SS.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a dangerous movie for the time. You know what I mean?
Sure was.
But Grand Budapest Hotel isn't like that. I mean, There's no Hitler character. There's no SS. I mean, there are black.
Well, but there are a lot of other Lubitsch films that are not about World War II and Nazis and all
right.
That
But people are comparing it to Be or Not to Be, which is a real poke in the eye, like a real dangerous thing to do in 1942, whatever it was. This is like yes, there's a fascist. They're not called the SS. There's no Hitler. It doesn't have that sense of danger.
Yeah.
That To Be or Not to Be had. So I think that comparison is a little bit facile.
So Oscars.
Yes,
your general sense of the Oscars.
What?
Well, I'm saying here
as an award.
This year, what I find interesting, American Hustle, which you're not a fan of.
Yeah, it got shut out. Woo!
Got totally shut out. It gets the Color Purple Award for Squat.
Hang on, no, I'm going to say something. I'm going
Yes.
to say one more time.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to watching American Hustle again when it comes
Yes.
out on Blu-ray. But
Sure.
I'm just saying. It's a collection of great little moments that is not a whole film.
That's fine. Here, it gets the Turning Point Award for Squat. These are all movies that got like tons of nominations, won nothing. Turning Point and Color Purple, huge legendary shutouts. Anyway, like 10 and 12 nominations and got nothing. But what I find interesting is that the Best Picture winner won 3 awards out of its 9, 12 Years a Slave, which we're going to talk about in a second, and then Gravity won 7, which is the most number of Oscars any Warner Brothers film has won since My Fair Lady in 1965. Do you realize that? 1964.
And it didn't get Best Picture.
Whereas
My Fair Lady did.
Yes, but 7. No Warner Brothers film has. I mean, not Unforgiven, not $1 Million Baby.
Pretty much all technical.
Yeah, all technical. But what's interesting is there's precedent for that. Do you remember in 1972? Of course you do. We remember 1972. 1972, the same thing happened. Godfather won Best Picture. It won 3 awards. But the big winner that year, which also won Best Director, stole that away from Coppola, was Cabaret. It won 8 awards. Best Director and this and that and cinematography and all this other stuff. I mean, Godfather 2 won a crapload 2 years later, but Godfather 1 only got 3 awards. Cabaret won 8. So in theory, Cabaret kind of was really the big film that year.
But which one has survived the ages?
I think they both have. I do.
Oh, The Godfather's like...
Godfather is the classic film, sure.
Yes.
But I mean, have you watched Cabaret lately?
No.
That is a hell of a movie.
Really?
It's a hell of a movie.
I haven't watched it in years.
Man, I'll tell you, you just watch that movie and you just go... man, Joel Grey, Liza, oh man, you guys, you just brought it. Like, Fosse just brought it. And I'm not a huge Fosse fan generally. Like all that jazz I watch, and I'm like, this is pretty narcissistic. And I met him.
That's what Bob Fosse.
I met him once. I met him once when I was an usher. He was doing sound checks in the theater for Star 80, and he was wearing lederhosen. It was the strangest thing in the world. It was like Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and he shows up at the Man's National Theater in Westwood wearing lederhosen. And I was thinking, you're an odd man, Really strange. But anyway. All right, so 12 Years a Slave. Out on Blu-ray and Ultraviolet. It is a Blu-ray and Ultraviolet combo. And here are our special features. A historical portrait, which is basically just cast and crew stuff, featurette, this and that and the other thing. A little bit on the filmmaking team and the score. That's it. That is all you get.
Well, now that it has one Best Picture.
Now that it is one bit, you know what that means, don't you?
A double dip.
Yeah, that means a double dip. That's what we're talking about. That means that they threw this thing together super pronto to just take advantage of the Academy Award nominations, but now that it's one Best Picture, we are probably looking at, I would say, around this time next year, if not sooner, at essentially what they did with Argo, in which I'm still trying to get a hold of. A special edition, maybe even a director's cut. I'd be surprised if there's a director's cut, but special edition definitely in the offing. This was my number 3 favorite film of the year. It was my favorite of the 5 nominees. The only films I liked better were Saving Mr. Banks and Rush, neither of which was nominated, both of which were entirely shut out in the nomination process, which I thought was rather infuriating. But 12 Years a Slave, still, I thought a really, really good film, and I think people who are like, oh, it's too graphic. It's about slavery, man. It's like Schindler's List. Is it too... I mean, when you're depicting something that is of such a historical trauma... What do you want? I don't get it.
Nobody has that problem with Saw films.
Yeah, isn't that bizarre? Isn't that weird? Nobody says, "Oh, Friday the 13th was too graphic for me, man." I just wanted to get into, I wanted to kind of see what Jason was really all about inside. It's like, no, stop it.
I'm just happy. I'm just happy for Steve McQueen because I was afraid he was going to go deeper and deeper into his own butthole.
He didn't, though.
No, he expanded his horizons.
See, and
is his most mainstream film to date. He's the right guy to do it. And he didn't shy away from the difficulties of the story.
I agree. I agree completely. And so, I mean, I'm going to recommend people get this now if you don't mind, the fact that they're going to ask you to double dip later with a pile of extras and commentaries and who knows what else they're going to add to it. But I guarantee you they're going to make you double dip. There's no question about it now that it's one Best Picture. There is no question. Fox Searchlight, 20th Century Fox, they are going to be all over your double-dipping butt on that one. The other thing that I will say that I found interesting about the Oscars, no one else has brought this up. The whole tribute, the 75th anniversary tribute to the Wizard of Oz thing with Lorna Luft and
Liza Minnelli,
right, and that drag queen who was dressed up as Liza Minnelli in the audience.
So sad.
What was that? That was just an awkward joke too.
By the way, get to your point, then I'll talk about Goldie Hawn.
Well, everybody was like, oh, Gone with the Wind, it's a wonderful 75th anniversary, and I'm thinking, yeah, but Gone with the Wizard of Oz. I just blew the thing. The Wizard of Oz, but it's also Gone with the Wind 75th anniversary, which is the film that won Best Picture, which was the big film of that year. Why aren't you celebrating Gone with the Wind? Oh, I know, because it would be really awkward to be celebrating Gone with the Wind the same day that you give the award to 12 Years a Slave, wouldn't it?
That's true.
That would really look kind of weird.
But also...
a film that more or less celebrates the South and celebrates, the era of slavery and romanticizes it, romanticizes the plantation that has Hattie McDaniel playing, a wonderful actress, deservedly won her Oscar, groundbreaking at the time, a black actress winning an Academy Award in Hollywood at a time when segregation was still rampant in the country. No doubt, I'm not going to, but at the same time, in this day and age, to celebrate that film on the same day that you celebrate 12 Years a Slave, that's not a good thing, and that would have been an embarrassment, and that's why they celebrated The Wizard of Oz instead of Gone with the Wind.
But don't forget, too, The Wizard of Oz just came out on a brand new, fabulous Blu-ray and just got distributed in theaters a few months earlier. So there's always that piece of commerce that you got to remember. So, Wade, not only do we have 12 Years a Slave out on Blu-ray, we have Hunger Games 2, Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Which caught fire at the box office.
Starring,
Jennifer Lawrence.
Sorry, Jennifer Lawrence and a bunch of other people.
J-Law.
I was not a big fan of Francis Lawrence. I didn't know whether he was going to slam dunk this or shank it, and he kind of slam dunked it a little bit.
Yeah.
I have to say. Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, she is the series. There is no series without her. That's why I think that Shailene Woodley in Divergent
Yeah.
will seem like a poor man's Jennifer Lawrence.
Maybe. I mean,
I like her, but I'm just saying, in terms of what Jennifer Lawrence brings,
Shailene Woodley.
if Shailene Woodley starred in Hunger Games, it would not be the Hunger Games.
No, that's true. But it could turn her into the next Jennifer Lawrence. Now, granted, she doesn't have the sex appeal of Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence has a certain glamour thing that Shailene Woodley doesn't have, and she also has this like raw, self-deprecating sense of, this is all a bunch of crap, and I'm going to go along with it anyway. Look how awesome I am.
Which might be a little manufactured now. I'm getting a sense that it might be a little manufactured. I'm not feeling the sincerity anymore. Literally, you cannot do something ridiculous every single time you go to any award show ever. You know what I mean?
Jared Leto was saying that. I'm sorry, Jared Leto was saying that as well. Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. He's like, she keeps falling down. I'm not so sure that's a real deal.
Oh, really? Who did you say that to?
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was an interview. He's like, I'm beginning to think that she's like doing it on purpose.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So there's Jennifer Lawrence. There's Josh Hutcherson, who I wish they would have recast that because he's not that great.
Yeah.
But it's got a great supporting cast: Woody Harrelson and Lenny Kravitz, Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jeffrey Wright, whose career never really took off as it should. So here's a chance to see Jeffrey Wright. Always love him. And so this is a good film. It's a good film. I think it's better than the first film. The first film had the burden of having to set up the story. This one doesn't have to do that. You can just start and go.
And you get a sneak peek at Divergent on here as well, which more or less looks like pretty much the same kind of deal.
Beautiful Blu-ray, by the way. Beautiful Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's good looking.
Another movie that really got shafted at the Academy Awards, Inside Llewyn Davis, which won Best Picture from the National Society of Film Critics. And everybody's
That's a Coen Brothers thing.
It's like they are with the Coen Brothers, like we are with Alexander Payne, I guess, in a way.
But I like this film too. This film's terrific.
See, I think this is really minor Coen Brothers.
But that's
really
okay.
Do.
Minor Coen Brothers is better than everybody else's major films.
But
this is a movie about a guy, about a week in the life of a guy who basically is a screw up and is about one step away from being out of the business, and it's just another week of this screw up's life. And when he starts when the movie starts, he's a screw up. When the movie ends, he's a screw up. But maybe music is closer to...
It's a missed opportunity. Here are my issues with it. And first of all, yes, it's a gorgeous Blu-ray. It looks absolutely fantastic. Roger Deakins did not shoot it because he was busy shooting Prisoners.
That's right. Which is really well shot. I love that film. That's
really well shot.
Film too.
Really, really well shot. So, I mean, but it still looks absolutely fantastic. And it's a really nicely made film. And Oscar Isaac, it gives a great lead performance. Carey Mulligan's wonderful. John Goodman steals the movie. Is that just freaky dude in the car?
Yeah, I mean, Carey Mulligan. I have to say, her role was a little one note.
Well, here's my problem with the movie. The Coen brothers have they have 3 gears. Okay, the Coen brothers have 3 gears. They have 2 of their own, and then they have their work for hire gear. And their work for hire gear is stuff like, what was the Lady Killers?
Lady Killers, or
the George Clooney thing.
I was thinking of that
Intolerable Cruelty, and to some degree True Grit, because it's a remake, right? So it's almost like they're working with some other piece of material. They're a little bit beholden to it, and they can put their signature on it. But basically, they're just along for the ride. Just it's already moving, and they're jumping onto the train. And then they got the stuff that they originate and they write, and it's them. It's Barton Fink, and it's Raising Arizona, and it's all it's Hudsucker Proxy. It comes right from their id. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It's not a remake. It's not a sequel. It's not a thing. It's just them. It's pure them. And that has 2 different gears. There's the one that's well thought out, that's fully fleshed out, and they're great stories like Barton Fink. It's just amazing. It just works. It's deep. It's rich. And then there's they think up about 7 or 8 really funny scenes, and they're sitting around the computer and they're making each other laugh, and they're like, oh man, it'd be hilarious if he does this, and this guy does this, and he does it. All right, let's just fill in the rest. And they just kind of piece the rest of it together, and it never feels like a fleshed out movie. It just feels like almost like threaded together sketch comedy. And that goes for Inside Llewyn Davis, and that goes for Burn After Reading, which I think is
I love that movie. That's a funny movie.
It's a funny movie, but it's pointless. It's pointless. It's really just a lot of scenes of Brad Pitt being like a Jim douchebag and John Malkovich flipping out. And that's it. That's all the movie is. There's nothing else to it.
Turns out I needed nothing else.
And this is just a week of this guy just having a bunch of crap happen to him.
That's right. Because he's a loser at the beginning of the film. He's a loser at the end of the film. Although at the end of the film, we're closer to Bob Dylan changing everything, and he's not going to be on that train.
If that's enough for you.
Yes, it is.
If that's enough for you.
Yes,
there's a little movie that did not get a lot of attention last year, and I just thought it was so good. I really thought that this is definitely worth seeing. Is The Time Being, with Frank Langella and Wes Bentley, whose career is kind of in the crapper. The guy who was almost Spider-Man, and he's just barely floating by. This is such an interesting movie. It is just so cool, and it's it's got a kind of a minor Hitchcockian vibe to it, but it's not really a thriller. It's a straight up drama. And Wes Bentley plays a guy. He's an artist, and he's just really, really trying to he's trying to support his family, and he needs money, and he can't sell any of his work, and he takes this very odd job, basically doing kind of surveillance work for this eccentric multimillionaire played by Frank Langella, and who is very ill, and who's just sending him out to take photographs and shoot video, and he doesn't really understand why. It's like, I'm an artist. Why are you making me do this? And it is such an interesting character study. It has just a great rhythm to it. Frank Langella is magnificent.
He's getting roles, man. For a guy his age, he's getting good roles.
And this
so is F. Murray Abraham, the two of them.
This was released by Cinedigm.
And Ben Kingsley.
Cinedigm makes zero effort. I love Chris McGurk. He did a really good job running Overture, but when he started up with Cinedigm, he basically decided that they were not going to be in the market for Academy Awards or anything like that. They're doing the Magnolia and IFC deal, right? They're just day and date video on demand. Day and date video on demand. Crank it out, make your money in the digital space, and if we get an Oscar nomination or whatever, fine. But we're not going to do a campaign. We're not going to push for that because that's not our bread and butter. And it's too bad because Frank Langella could have been nominated for this. He's that good, and it's so well shot, and it's just. Got to tell you, I really, really thought this was a fascinating film. And directed by a director whose name I am going to completely butcher. Shaviz Mafavaz.
Yep, that's it.
That's it.
You win.
No, it's, I'm not going to do the Travolta. Have you Travoltaized your name?
Actually, I did.
Yeah, what did it come out as?
It was lame.
What, really?
I thought it would be something funny. What was yours?
Mine was Wayne Morphe, I think it was.
Poor Travolta.
Yeah, it's too funny. No, the director's name here is Nana Susin Saint, I think. I'm kind of pronouncing it the French way, but anyway, basically a commercial director. Co-wrote the film, directed it, and I think he does an unbelievable job. And that name I will pronounce correctly next time.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Because I'll see him in interviews, and he'll do a really good job.
Wait, here's something you never thought you'd hear me say.
What?
Here's a horror film that I liked.
What was it?
It's called In Fear.
Oh.
And this was directed by a newcomer named Jeremy Lovering.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's tense stuff, man. It's about this young couple, and they're on the way to this Irish music festival, and they wind up getting stuck in the back roads, and they're being haunted by this crazy guy. They don't know who he is, and the only thing they have to protect them is the car, pretty much sitting in the car.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, it's good, very well shot for what it is. Gets a lot of chills out of it, and I got to say, In Fear is much better than it would. 99 films out of 100 of this ilk are pretty terrible, but this one is pretty unsettling, and it's very effective, and I liked it.
All right,
it's good. In Fear,
very nice.
It's probably the last time I'll ever actually recommend a film like this, but I got to say it was good.
All right, I got a couple here that I'll be very brief with them both. Neither one of them is very good, but if you like the genre, you'll probably somewhat enjoy them. They're professional enough. They're straight to video fare. One is called The Outsider. This is from Image, and if you were to take The Limey and
I love The Limey
and cross it with Taken.
I love Taken.
And cast a rugged British TV actor who
rugged British TV actors.
Who is nowhere near the league of Liam Neeson or of General Zod.
Terrence Stamp.
Thank you. Terrence Stamp.
That poor cow. We forgot his name.
It's been a long week. Then you would basically get The Outsider. And here's the deal. Craig Fairbrass, who's just a big, limey, blokey guy from England, this is basically his idea. He stars in it, and he, cooked up the story, and he plays a guy who is a former special ops, or he's still special ops in the movie, and his daughter is allegedly murdered in Los Angeles, so he flies back to, take care to identify the body, and of course turns out to not be his daughter. So where is his daughter? She's been kidnapped. What's going on? What's she gotten into? And he decides to be a one-man wrecking crew to sort of sort through it all. And then, of course, Jason Patric is the cop who, hey man, you're not the law here. I'm the law. He's on the case, and they eventually collide and then have to collaborate. Yada yada yada. You've seen this a million times. So that said, it's pretty silly. It's pretty boilerplate, pretty generic stuff. James Caan plays the heavy, just walks through it, completely snoozes through the part. But because, it's Jason Patric and James Caan, it feels better than it really is. And Craig Fairbrass gets to kind of, surf on their coattails. And then we also have Enemies Closer, a movie that is really unbelievably stupid. But somehow I wound up actually enjoying it in an incredibly campy way. This is directed by a young director named Peter Hyams. He's new on the scene.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. He's new on the scene, but boy, he's got some chops.
He's done a couple Van Damme films in the past.
Well, not only that, his son, who is the worst director in the world, has been directing like the last several Universal Soldier movies, which Van Damme has been in as well. So I mean, Van Damme must have dinner at the Hyams house every week or something. I don't know.
Okay, Peter Hyams directed.
He's the only reason either of them are getting movies made right now.
Okay, Peter Hyams directed 3 movies I liked. You ready?
Yeah.
Outland.
Yeah.
Time Cop.
Yeah.
And 2010.
Okay, I agree with you in Outland. I like 2010, despite a lot of reservations. Time Cop, I think, is a piece of junk. But
it's got Ron Silver.
But I also like Star Chamber a lot.
Well, that's right. Michael Douglas, Star Chamber.
Star Chamber is a good movie. Hal Holbrook.
That's right.
Good movie. And in pound for pound, that may be the best movie that he's ever done. That and Outland. It's tough call. But anyway, so here's the deal. Enemies Closer. Here's the deal with this stupid movie. All right. So Tom Everett Scott, remember him?
Yeah, from That Thing You Do.
Yeah. And Orlando Jones, remember him?
From That Thing You Do.
Yeah, no. Orlando Jones from the Pepsi commercial, or from the 7-Up commercials, right? And then he had a moment.
And now that moment's gone.
Now that moment's gone. Well, anyway, here's the deal. There's some like island on the border with Canada where it's a park, and Tom Everett Scott is the ranger, and like a private plane filled with cocaine or heroin or whatever the hell it is. It crashes and it sinks and yada yada. And then suddenly he finds himself at odds with Orlando Jones, who's trying to avenge the death of his brother, like in Afghanistan, when Tom Everett Scott was his commander, or some crappy thing like that. And while they're having their little mano-a-mano, Jean-Claude Van Damme is the evil leader of these French-Canadian Mounties who are looking... Evil
French-Canadian Mounties?
Yes, who are looking for the drugs.
Those villainous Canadians.
Villainous Canadians. It's hysterical when they show up looking like Dudley Do-Right and Van Damme, who has hair like Heat Miser, right? He's got this flaming red hair that just sticks straight up. He says, "Close the door after me. Don't come in until you hear somebody scream." And then and he just like lays into people. And he's just being like a complete psychopath. And I'm thinking, this movie is crap. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. But honestly, by the end, Van Damme is like on laughing gas. This guy is the most obnoxious, over-the-top movie villain you have ever seen. There's suddenly nothing that he can't do. You start laughing. You just have to you just throw caution to the wind. It is just too funny. When he comes out and he just cracks his neck and he goes, "Good, I like playing in trees." It's just blissful. It becomes so stupid.
I think he knows it's stupid.
You just want to rip everything up and you just go, "I'm just along for the ride. Just be stupid."
He knows it's stupid.
Of course he does.
On the other end of the spectrum is Mademoiselle C. Now, this is a documentary on the life of Karine Reutfeld, who ran French Vogue for 10 years. I watched this thing, and they interview all the usual suspects: Tom Ford and Karl Lagerfeld and Kate Upton and Versace and Diane von Furstenberg. I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, there's some charming moments in this, but unless I'm a total fashion fetishist, I don't really care.
Yep.
So what I'll say is, if you're a total fashion fetishist, go for it.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
But I don't really know. To me, it's like all these great people are talking about a woman who is not as great as they are. So I don't really know why she deserves the documentary. But
I watched it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, there's a couple of charming scenes.
I thought it was fine.
But otherwise, Karl Lagerfeld looks like a bizarre human being.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does indeed. So here's the thing. There's a guy who once went to prison for molesting a kid. He's a film director. His name is Victor Salva. He's going to have that around his neck forever. Because unlike Woody Allen, he actually was accused and convicted and prosecuted and did time. Okay, so let's be clear on that. So I don't have a problem just pointing that out. Victor Salva, guy's got a record. He's also a hell of a director. I really only liked one of his films, which is Powder. That's like the only real movie I think he's ever made, and I think it's a good movie.
Yeah.
But Jeepers Creepers had all kinds of stuff going for it, and now he's done another horror film called Dark House. And it's, you know what, it's very competent, it's stylish. The guy knows how to put a movie together, I'll tell you. I mean, for a fat, scary dude who, you know, I'm assuming he's still fat. If you ever see Victor Salva, you're like, ooh,
but
yikes.
Look, let's say you're putting this film together. You are the production company.
Yes.
And you think to yourself, we need a director. Who is going to direct our film? We got to send them. We got a good script. Mm-hmm. It's workable. We got $3 million, $5 million to throw at it. That's our budget. You know, we got 21-day shooting schedule. Who can we throw at this movie? Well, who's on our list? How about the child molester? Let's give it to him. Mikey, he likes it. He'll direct anything. And I kind of wonder, like, if there's any qualms about offering him this project. Like, you got to figure, of all the directors out there, they give it to him.
Well, Dark House, here's the deal. It's about a guy, basically, who can touch people, and he knows how they're going to die. And
it's like that Twilight Zone with the mirror. When you look in the mirror,
kind of. I mean, and it turns into a bit of a. It's like a horror thriller more than anything else. His mom's in the loony bin, and you know he finds out he thought his dad was dead, and his dad's still alive, and so it becomes kind of a journey of self-discovery, a little Angel Hearty in a way. But I gotta tell you,
I love Angel Heart.
I do too.
So good.
But it's decent. It is absolutely decent. And then a director named Henry Barrial made a movie called Pig. Now, Pig this got kind of a little bit of traction. I don't know if this actually got a proper theatrical release last year, but it's not really a horror film. It's kind of like a sci-fi thrillery thing. But anyway, a guy wakes up in the desert. He's been kidnapped, and he's been, had a hood on him. These people dragged him out to the desert, but he has no idea who he is or how he got there. And I guess you could compare it in some sense to either Wrecked, which was the thing with Adrian Brody,
right,
or Memento. It's a little bit like somewhere between the two. In some sense, a little bit more like Wrecked. Because did you see Wrecked?
No.
Adrian Brody, he wakes up in a car crash, like down this ravine, and there's like money spilling out the back of the car. And he has absolutely no idea what's happened. There's like dead guys with guns in the car, and he's like, who am I? And then he hears a report about a robbery, and he thinks, oh my gosh, I'm a criminal, and I just robbed, and these guys are dead, and what's going to happen to me? It's really interesting. It's a good little indie. Anyway, there's a little bit about that going on, but when it gets into uncovering the past, it's a little bit memento-y. Not bad. Kind of misses a couple of crucial beats, but Henry Barrial, I think the guys, if people can't put this film on their radar, they'll get a little vibe going. He'll get a vibe going. He will.
Wade, there's this guy, Terry Fader.
Yeah.
And I saw a documentary on ventriloquism once, and they had this guy, Terry Fader, who I'd never heard of. And he walks on, in this documentary, they recount how he became famous, which I didn't know. The guy walks on to America's Got Talent with his little puppet. What is Steve the Puppet, or whatever the puppet's name was.
Yeah.
And he starts to sing, the puppet starts to sing At Last, right? The famous Etta James At Last.
Yep.
And literally, you're like in tears. It's so good. The guy was able to ventriloquize at Last, which is a belt him out song, through this ventriloquist dummy. Floored everybody. Floored me. He won America's Got Talent. He became famous, got a Vegas deal, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
And this is not a documentary, it's a concert film called Terry Fader Live in Concert. So the question becomes, do you want to see 96 minutes of Terry Fader?
No.
Not really.
I
want to see 30 minutes of Terry.
Okay.
But you know what? He's funny. He's got a lot of different puppets and does a lot of impersonations. He does like Dean Martin and Aretha Franklin and Lady Gaga. And he's not really very impersonable to me. But So look, if you like him, you'll love this thing. I was blown away by the way he did At Last on America's Got Talent. And even then, I'm like, all right, I can take about half of this.
Nice.
Speaking of in concert, Eric Clapton, the 70s Review. Eric Clapton, as you know, is one of the guitar gods, and this documentary is made from the same people who did Eric Clapton, the 60s Review, and it just follows Clapton's journey in the 70s. He was in, Delaney and Bonnie, and he was in Derek and the Dominoes, and he in the mid 70s he wound up being a solo artist. It's funny because as I remember it, Clapton did not want to sing. He did not think he could sing. He just wanted to play guitar. But then eventually he wound up singing and became a solo artist, and he's a good singer. He's got a real Honey Dripper kind of voice. and very distinctive voice. And of course, he's a god as a guitarist. He's gone soft a little bit over the years, but so there's a lot of rare performances, and Bonnie Bralman is in this, and Willie Perkins, and it's good, really good stuff. Eric Clapton, the 70s Review, which is the sequel of sorts to Eric Clapton, the 60s Review. Now, Wade, I have one more thing in my little pile I'm going to get to. Now you know how annoyed I am at Red Sox fans. Red Sox fans, although they won another World Series, like their third in 10 years, they spent all these decades thinking that like everybody should pity and they're more put upon than Jesus Christ.
Yes, I know.
Being nailed to the cross. But the funny thing is that...
Which is another scene that people were upset about having to watch in a movie. It's like, it's a crucifixion. What do you want it to be? Like puppies having dinner? Give me a break.
They should have just tickled them.
Gosh.
They should tickle them.
Okay, carry on.
Anyway, so even though I know the Red Sox fans thought that like they were literally like Christ on the cross, putting up with 86 years of futility, there's a team that's even worse, the Cubs. Mm-hmm. You realize that the Cubs were always worse than the Red Sox, but the Cubs fans, they don't complain.
I know.
It drives me nuts. Anyway, one
of my favorite things is the list of all the things that have happened since the Cubs last won the World Series. It's really funny.
This is like 2 world wars.
It's like the steam engine was invented. The Punic Wars were finished. Man discovered fire. It's quite funny. Anyway.
That's awesome. But this DVD from MLB Films, and I hate the fact that they continue to put these out on DVD and not Blu-ray. It drives me nuts. But anyway, is Wrigley Field, home of the Cubs, 100 years of Wrigley Field. Now, Wrigley Field is a shrine. I've been there a couple times. It's great. I do have to say, as much as Red Sox fans annoy me, I think that Fenway is the ultimate baseball shrine.
Yes.
It was a complete honor and pleasure to see a game there. I've been to Wrigley Field a couple times. It's quite fun. It's good. It's always hot there in the summertime. But anyway, this is all about the friendly confines. They interview a lot of the greats who were there, Ferguson Jenkins and Ron Santo, who passed away. And it's great. Ernie Banks, who's still around, I believe. And it's great. If you're a Cubs fan, got to get it. If you're a baseball historian, you got to just at least rent it, skim through it, because a lot of great baseball happened in Chicago.
Nice.
Good stuff.
All right, I'm going to blow through a few things here before
you'll blow all right.
Oh, yes, I will. We're going to get through our A pile. One of these came out in December, and I want to make mention of it now because it took me a while to get around to it. But this is a legendary television thing. It is Gene Kelly dancing a man's game. And do you remember Omnibus? This is before your time and mine, but Omnibus was like an amazing series on television in the 1950s. I mean, it's like they commissioned some of the best television ever. And a little bit of it has trickled out, but not all of it. Somebody should really do a box set of all the Omnibus stuff. That being said, we're getting pieces of it, and this is one of them. This was from 1958, and Gene Kelly got his first television special where he pulled in a lot of like amazing figures from athletics, like Sugar Ray Robinson and Dick Button when he was still a skater before he became the most annoying commentator in history, and Bob Cousy, Mickey Mantle. Really amazing, Johnny Unitas. And all these guys were part and parcel of this special where he was demonstrating the manliness of dancing. He wanted to sort of kill this stereotype of dancing as like as like a very fey thing, as not very athletic, not very manly. He wanted to really, kind of destroy the stereotype. And it's fantastic. It is just really, really, it's unusual. It's different from anything you've ever seen before. And the remastering that they've done, I wish they'd have put this on a Blu-ray because it was originally, kinescope material, like a lot of 1950s television, and they remastered it from the original kinescopes and the ones that are in the Library of Congress, and it looks absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So from 1958, Dancing a Man's Game, Gene Kelly. And then also there's a movie called Homefront, which is, pretty generic movie stuff. It's got everyone in it who's showing up in every movie these days, namely James Franco and Jason Statham. And you're thinking, my goodness, what took them so long to work together? I'm sorry, James Franco.
Jared Leto?
James Franco and Jason Statham. So here's the deal. Jason Statham plays an ex-DEA agent, much like Liam Neeson in his new
Nonstop.
Nonstop plays an air marshal. And my question is, can't we get any Americans to actually be in our law enforcement services, our federal law enforcement services? Like, does everyone suddenly have to have an English or an Irish accent who's defending the United States?
Yeah, but it's Liam Neeson. He's cool.
Yeah, I know. But
he's 61 years old. His wife died. Give him a break.
But sound like an American. Come on. These guys are actors. Even Jason Statham, as stiff as he is, he can learn to not talk Cockney for just a second or two. Hire a voice coach.
That's part of his charm.
Whatever.
The Cockney thing is part of his charm.
I guess. Anyway. He's ex-DEA, and he's got a little daughter, and they retire, but they keep dragging him back in, because where he retires to, it's, they just keep dragging him back in, and James Franco's down there, basically doing a kinder, gentler, equally murderous version of the guy that he is in that horrible Harmony Korine movie, Spring Breakers.
Oh, I love that movie.
Anyway, there you go. So, Stallone wrote this thing, and should be embarrassed that he did, because there's just nothing that great about it. It's called Homefront. It's also got Winona Ryder and Kate Bosworth doing absolutely nothing. It's on Blu-ray with ultraviolet. I see no point, really. It's generic as all hell. Okay, I'm going to blow through a bunch of docs here real quickly. So we've got from the Athena line of educational titles of Acorn, which is a Robert Johnson company like Image, talks about nothing, which is really totally interesting and unusual. This is about a sponsored thing from back in 2010, 2011 at the Rubin Museum of Art in New York, where they paired a lot of great thinkers off to talk about the concept of nothing, which has, you'd think, like, how can you talk about nothing? And yet, it's like to be or not to be, right? In Hamlet, that's about nothing. The whole soliloquy is about nothingness. And that's what they get into. They get into the whole concept of nothingness and non-existence, and it gets very deep and kind of intimidating. And it's really existential and spiritual and sort of fascinating, especially considering how weighty it is. And then we also have the science of measurement, taking the measure of the world. This is from the guys who did the story of math. And we kind of take measures for granted, but this is just amazing. They get this Oxford mathematician to sort of go through the entire history and process of developing measurement and standardizing measurement. And as boring and dull as you think that is, it's really freaking interesting.
Somebody had to decide what a cup is.
It's true.
8 ounces.
True.
Why is a tablespoon 3 teaspoons?
A yard used to be the distance from the king's nose to his thumb or some crap like that. I mean, whatever. And then Bryan Cranston narrates the History Channel release.
Ooh, speaking of Bryan Cranston, did you see the Godzilla trailer?
No. The new one?
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, gosh.
Did you see Monsters, Gareth Edwards' first film?
Yeah, I did.
For what it is,
yeah.
I'm glad they gave it to him. He's got promise.
Yeah, well,
it's not just like giving it to like Michael Bay. It's being junk.
Well, they should have given it back to
Roland Emmerich.
Yeah. Because then he cast Jeff Goldblum again. By the way, Jeff Goldblum, also in a movie that I'm talking about on Film Week next week. Delightful. Unbelievable how he almost steals this movie. It's fantastic.
What movie?
I'm not going to tell you.
He's also in Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he is.
Oh, he's so freaking good. And he never ages. Like, he looks young. He looks the same as he did.
He really does.
It's like since Brown Shoe and Speed Freak. What was that called?
10 Speed Brown Shoe.
That's the show.
Awesome.
Ever since that show, Speed Freak. You like how I kind of... Anyway. He's not aged. He's like gotten buffer and better and cooler and a little bit graying in the hair, but he still does that weird thing. And it's so funny. It never gets old.
He's so imitatable.
He just never gets. It never gets
old. He does
old.
this thing with his hands where he's just got these huge hands.
Yeah, but he's oblivious. It's like in every movie he does, someone could just go, "You're a jerk," and he go, "I like how you say that. Could you do that again?" and you can write for him.
Very distinctive.
You can write stuff for that because no one else can pull that off. But you're like, wow, you can actually pull that weird stuff off. I'm going to write more of that. It's brilliant. He's like everyone's dream actor. Anyway. Big history. So this is a History Channel thing. Bryan Cranston narrating it. I assume he's going to be amazing in Godzilla, based on what you say.
Awesome.
And this is just really fantastically cool little historical tidbits. This is almost like Ripley's Believe It or Not elevated to a history level of importance. The things from the past that connect to the present. They talk about salt and time machines, and it's really kind of amazing. So a lot of fun to actually watch. It's 3 discs. It's a lot of material. Just put it on the background and blow your mind while you're watching it. And then really quickly a bunch of PBS titles before we get into some TV. We got the from Nature, The Funkiest Monkeys. A friend of mine has often said monkeys should never be filmed. They don't belong on television. I'm inclined to agree with him. These
What?
monkeys freak me out.
Monkeys
but
are
if you
awesome.
like monkeys, I guess you'll like the funkiest monkeys. Reportero is a PBS documentary that gets into you go to Tijuana and you're basically immersed in the whole horrors of the drug cartel and everything that goes bad down there, and it's pretty awful. And it seems more timely now ever since they caught what's his name, Chalupa. Like what's his name?
El Chapo?
Yeah, El Chapo, El Chalupa, something. I knew it was. Anyway, the whole kind of Tijuana drug thing is pretty insane. Great cathedral mystery, which is all about the engineering of the cathedral in Florence, which is great history. It's fascinating. We take for granted that we can build anything that we want in this day and age in the 21st century, and you forget that when you go back centuries to places like Florence, people didn't. It's pretty amazing. The engineering feat of this thing is just dazzling, and that's really interesting. And then Alien Planets Revealed, an episode of Nova. And it's amazing to me. We grew up thinking, are there planets in other solar systems? And now we've got, the
Hundreds of thousands and millions of them.
there's bajillions of planets everywhere, and
Yes,
they're
there
discovering
are.
them every single day. Anyway, and this is all about the Kepler telescope and how it finds planets, and how it is that the thing that we thought was going to be so cool when it finally happened is now so routine that kids today are like, you used to think that there weren't any planets?
Well, soon we're going to find people on them, or big insectoids. who
Sure,
will
we will.
Take us over.
Yes,
Wade, DirecTV is getting into the original series business with Rogue.
of course they are.
Now, this show got some good reviews. I think it's pretty stupid. But anyway, Tandy Newton, who is just so gorgeous. I just love her.
Yeah.
Remember that shot in Mission Impossible 2 where she spins out in that Ferrari, whatever it is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's just the best.
Yeah.
Anyway, she plays a detective who was her son was murdered, and she feels guilt about that, and she's got to solve it. And that's what happens in season 1. You know why I don't like this show? I've decided that I don't like any TV show, movie, book, or any fictional endeavor.
That features women.
No. Yeah, well, there's that. But I
Okay.
mean, beyond that.
Yes.
Where if there's a woman lead character,
Yes.
her name is Grace. It's so like, if we call her Grace, then people will like her more because Grace implies, angelic, what?
My daughter has a first cousin named Grace.
That's fine. In real life, it's fine. But that's like a shortcut to make you like
Yes.
a female character in a movie or a TV show. Call them Grace.
Do you there's a great line in. Do you remember this line from Hope and Glory, the John Borman film?
I haven't seen that since
There's
1989.
One of my favorite lines in that movie is where the grandfather. Remember, they go to the countryside. The kids they spend it with their grandfather. The grandfather's this crusty old dude, and he has his 4 daughters, one of whom is the kid's mom. And he names them off, and the line is, Grace, Faith, Hope, and Charity. My wife named our daughters after all the virtues that I lacked. It's a great line. Fantastic line.
And a great movie.
And the way he delivers it is just beautiful.
Siberia, season 1. This is an interesting show. I kind of like
Yes.
this show. This was on NBC, but nobody really paid much attention to it. But it's interesting. It's about a reality show where they're dumped into Siberia, and they have to fend for themselves. Of course, it turns out that it's not really a reality show, and
Liam
strange
Neeson
things
is
start
there,
happening.
and there's a wolf, and there's Liam Neeson.
With Liam Neeson and a wolf, that means The Grey.
Yeah.
Remember, you saw The Grey.
I finally did, yes.
Oh, I love that movie. It's great.
It's fine.
What?
It's fine.
So good.
I guess.
It's all existential.
I
Anyway,
suppose.
Siberia, it's not bad. Anyway, finally on DVD, not Blu-ray, is L.A. Law. Now, L.A. Law is one of the last great 80s series to finally come out on DVD. I did not watch this show. I didn't like this show. I was more of a Hill Street Blues guy, which is also created by Stephen Bochco, same guy. But people loved L.A. Law. The thing lasted forever.
I was in L.A. Law. I admit it. It was the last legal show that I actually paid attention to.
I mean, it was with Corbin Burnson was there, and Jill Eikenberry, and Jimmy Smits, who's still around, Harry Hellman, he's kind of still around.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are still around. So L.A. Law was a very popular show, a great show. It was on NBC for like 8 years. And, so it's finally on DVD.
Nice.
22 episodes. So there you go. I mean, the bonus features are just new interviews with all the main cast people, but the good folks at Shout Factory finally did something that nobody else had the guts to do. Come out with L.A. Law on DVD.
I can't believe it took that long. Anyway, a lot of new interesting collections, 2-season collections from Mill Creek. These are all shows that have been out previously, but we're getting to that point now where they're They're piling up the seasons into doubles. One of these is not a double, and one of these is a complete series, but the others are all 2 combos. And so I'm going to start first with Dilbert, the complete series from Mill Creek. You know what? It's okay.
Dud.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a better strip than it is an animated show, but
you know
it's
what?
still funny.
The strip is funny. I feel
it's
feel
Office
like,
Space.
You know, that's true. I feel like as a person who grew up on comic strips and still holds comic strips in his heart, I feel like it is almost like saying I love Garfield, saying I love Dilbert because Garfield's so terrible. But Dilbert is kind of funny. The show, not funny.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it's very Office Spacey. It's fine. Don't mind it. And then we also now have a bargain-priced Charlie's Angels Season 1, which is, this was out before from Sony, and they've released the whole series, and now it's gone to sort of individual bargain-price seasons, and that's fine. It's still a great show. I love this show. Cannot get enough of it because I grew up on it, and I was in puberty when the show was on television. And then here are the double seasons.
I knew that I had a problem in life when my father asked me I think my father asked me, and I was a kid, obviously, a quite prepubescent kid, but my father asked me, is there like an actress who you think you would want to buy a poster of and put in your room? You know?
Your dad asked you that?
Yeah.
Cool dad.
And of all the Charlie's Angels, I said Kate Jackson. Who was like the least sexy of the 3. I said
she was the brainy one.
Yeah.
You were looking at the beauty on the inside.
I was.
Yeah, that's what you were doing.
And here I am.
You're out of your mind.
Still single.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, here are the double ones. We got Wings, the complete 3rd and 4th season. Bewitched, seasons 1 and 2. Married with Children, seasons 1 and 2. Just Shoot Me, seasons 1 and 2. Good Time, seasons 1 and 2. And The Cosby Show, seasons 1 and 2. All perfectly fine shows. I obviously like some of these a little better than others. I'm a huge fan of Bewitched. And Wings eventually grew on me. I mentioned seasons 3 and 4 because I don't like the first 2 seasons of Wings. Seasons 3 and 4 actually kind of funnier at that point. They sort of got the groove of the show. It took a long time to take off. Married with Children, first 2 seasons, very weird. Very weird. Nobody's in character yet. The lines are really obvious. The laughter is just a weird cross between studio audience and canned. It's very odd, strange to watch. Just Shoot Me has always been a funny show. Good Times, I like everything except for Jimmy Walker, who drives me crazy. And The Cosby Show was always a really smart show. So there it is. Those are now in 2-pack sets, Mark.
2-pack Shakur?
Yes, indeed. All right, we are going to, we're nearing the end of the show, and I have a ton of kid vid that I'm going to blow through at the end of the show on the usual Will Wade's daughter actually watch these. But we've got some classic movies that we're going to get to momentarily here. And I'm going to start.
How long is the show, Wade?
Huh?
How long is the show going to be?
The usual length. We're not yet at an hour, dude. No. We're clocking in there. Anyhow, we have a couple of Warner Archive Collection titles that should be mentioned. One of them is What Price Hollywood, which is it's not a great film, but it's an interesting historical film, and it's worth watching if you want to if you're a big George Cukor fan, and if you're a Cukor completist, or if you're a David Selznick completist. This is one of the unsung films from one of their unsung collaborations. And it's an interesting behind-the-scenes look at Hollywood, and it's not like other backstage Hollywood portraits of the time. This one is actually surprisingly accurate and a little bit edgy. So even though it's not ultimately a great film, it's a fascinating film. And this comes from the RKO library. It was RKO had its own imprimatur at the time. And Warner Brothers obviously inherited it now that they have all the RKO stuff, which fell in with MGM and that whole nonsense. And then we also have the Vitaphone Comedy Collection, Volume 2. This is all shorts featuring Shemp Howard of the Three Stooges, Shemps. Shorts that he did between 1933 and 1937. And it's good fun, a lot of good fun. Most of us think of Shemp as the guy with the really bad haircut of the Three Stooges, who all had bad haircuts, except for Curly, who had no hair. But, and Shemp's the guy that would always go, You remember that, right?
Three Stooges? Dud.
Oh, come on.
Nope, dud. Telling you, not funny. They poke themselves in the eye. Big deal.
Anyway, some good shorts here. Some really good shorts. On the Wagon, Blonde Bomber, Here's How, For the Love of Pete, A Peach of a Pear. A lot of really fun stuff. So if you love Vitaphone shorts, you're going to dig all that stuff. And then we've also got a couple of films that I'm one from Paramount and one from Fox. They're on Blu-ray. You're not going to hear much about it because they're obviously not pushing them too hard. But Samson Delilah, which came out on DVD in a restored version not too long ago, is now out on Blu-ray. This is one of those cheesy biblical films that Cecil B. DeMille did back in the day, and it's quite funny how the credits read that it is adapted from Samson Delilah in the Holy Bible, Judges 13-16. Like, that's on the credit bed. It, of course, stars Victor Mature as Samson and Hedy Lamar as Delilah, and she's great. And you know what? Victor Mature is just a bad actor. He just really is. He's just a big cheeseball. But, you know, it's an interesting Cecil B. DeMille biblical chunk of cheese from the era. Angela Lansbury shows up and tries to class up the joint, but it doesn't really work too well. And so it's a novelty, but if you're a DeMille fan, you'll be all over it. And then the Agony and the Ecstasy, which is an incredibly awesome movie, really, really unheralded in this day and age. People have totally forgotten about this film, directed by Carol Reed, of course, who did The Third Man and Oliver and many other brilliant films, one of the great British directors of all time. Amazing score by Alex North. And this is, of course, the legendary, based on the book, the legendary story of how Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel and fought with Pope Julius II over it. And it was, the struggle between these two men. The one was the patron and the other one the artist. And Charlton Heston plays Michelangelo, and Rex Harrison plays Pope Julius. And it's great. It's just a fantastic film. It's powerful. It's dramatic. It's beautiful widescreen. It's a fantastic film. It's one of Carol Reed's best movies, and it is out on Blu-ray from 20th Century Fox, and none too soon. You got to go run and get this one. This belongs on the shelf. It will just bring the classic era all the way back. You will love it.
Hi, Wade.
Yep.
Hairspray from John Waters. This is the earlier version of Hairspray from 1988. This is delightful. This is John Waters as we never thought we'd see him.
Sweet. Being
absolutely delightful. This is Sonny Bono, Ruth Brown, Divine, of course, Ricky Lake, Jerry Stiller. This is just a terrific show. It's everybody knows it. It was remade with John Travolta in drag, but you got to get the original. John Waters, who of course is the ultimate purveyor of just bottom-dwelling trash, winds up going mainstream and hitting out of the park.
Nice.
So liked it a lot. This first time on Blu-ray. I would definitely at least rent this. It's delightful. It's great. Love it. Hairspray. Check that out. Also, Criterion Goodness this week. Now, wait, David Gordon Green.
Yes.
Strange director.
I know.
What
He makes good movies, and then he starts making a bunch of crap movies. Then he makes Your Highness, and I'm about to write him off. I'm like, he sold his soul to the devil. What the hell's wrong with him? And then he turns around and he's starting to make his old kind of, arty films again. It's very strange. I don't know what's up with him. He just sold a TV series, too. He's a nice guy. I've interviewed him. I just don't know why he started making those horrible comedies.
I don't know either.
Pineapple Express and Your Highness.
Because he needs money. Well, the first thing he ever directed is George Washington, which got him on the map and is amazing.
It's a wonderful film.
It's great. It reminds me a little bit of Beast of the Southern Wild. That's a bit of a facile.
It does a little bit.
It's a bit of a facile connection. But
by the way,
because they both take place in the South.
Speaking of Beast of the Southern Wild,
which I loved,
and the girl whose name I can never pronounce, Kevejan is.
She's an Annie. She's Annie.
Have you seen the trailer for Annie?
No, people love it.
You know what, dude, it's like I want to hate the movie. I want to hate the trailer. I want to make fun of it so badly. I just want to rage against it. But by the end of that trailer, I'm like, son of a. You kind of got me.
Who's directing it?
Gosh, I can't even remember.
Carol Reed?
Yeah, exactly.
George Lucas?
But it's like, it's completely modern. It's not Depression era anymore, right? And
modern times are depressing enough. It's okay to...
Exactly. But, and the only thing that doesn't ring true about it is that Cameron Diaz is just doing a ridiculous job of imitating Carol Burnett. That's, apart from that girl is amazing, man. I mean, like, we didn't know that in, of course we knew it in Beast of the Southern Wild, but it's like suddenly you're like, you are not a one note. You are an amazing little actress. You can sing and you're charming, and I just want to hug you. I want to take you home, and not in like a
I wasn't going to go there, but you went there.
Not in like a a Dylan Farrow way, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, that's how dare you. Anyway, so Criterion is continuing to turn their DVDs over into Blu-rays, and you got to check out George Washington. It's just terrific. It's about these young kids in the South and the life they lead. And it's not a very good life, and they have a lot of difficult choices to make as they become older, and it's just great.
Fantastic.
I don't know what happened to David Gordon Green, but it all started out great in George Washington.
Fantastic.
Check it out.
All right, real quickly, some foreign language films. Then I'm going to blow through the kid vid, and then we're out of here. The Redemption Library, which is a lot of, kind of Euro horror and Euro trash stuff, of course, recently was acquired by Kino. And Kino's been releasing all of that stuff and putting it all on Blu-ray. And now the Jean Rollin films that are vampire themed have been collected in the Vampire Collection, the cinema of Jean Rollin. So these have all been released before, but you can get them in a nice boxed set now. The Rape of the Vampire, the Nude Vampire, Shiver of the Vampires, and Requiem for a Vampire. My daughter will not be seeing any of these anytime soon, if ever. But Jean Rollin, a stylish French director, made really great kind of Euro trash at the time. And it came over here as sort of, artsy exploitation fare. And it's just, you know what? I as much as I make fun of Jean Rollin a lot, you watch these films, there's something to them. So, I mean, if you are a vampire completist or if you're a Euro trash person, you'll dig it. They are really, really good Blu-rays. And then also on the foreign front, Broken Circle Breakdown, the Belgian film that was recently nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. That was one of the categories I missed. That I actually did not think that they would give it to The Great Beauty.
Really? You thought they give it to The Hunt?
I thought they'd give it to The Hunt.
No.
Because to really appreciate The Great Beauty, you have to have seen La Dolce Vita. And I thought, you know what, there are too many members of the Academy who've never seen La Dolce Vita, and they're going to watch that, and they're going to go, I don't get it. It's like a whole lot of music and color and flamboyance, and I don't really, there's no
But The Hunt,
point to this.
but The Hunt was not, to me, was not culturally specific enough for the Academy to give it a Best Foreign Language Oscar.
But it's damn
Whereas
good
Great
movie.
Beauty is very culturally specific.
True. And so, I rolled the dice. I know it was the favorite. I thought that'd be an upset, so shoot me. Anyway,
really, I can shoot you?
You can shoot me if you want. I'll go get the gun from the dungeon where we keep the gimp. So anyway, the Broken Circle Breakdown, lovely movie by a director named Felix van Groningen. I'm sure it's something like Felix van Groningen. Felix van Groningen, some Flemish pronunciation that'll just kill me. But anyway, this is a really unusual love story, and it's melodramatic, but it's got a cool little an angle on American music. It dovetails a little bit with kind of Llewyn Davis, kind of. It makes for an interesting double feature in some respect. Anyway, and it's a lovely movie. It's a lovely unconventional romance, and I thought it was really cool. And then beyond Outrage, did you see Takeshi Kitano's Outrage? The original Outrage, his film?
From 19... whatever it was.
No, it was like 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was. Yeah, this is the sequel to it. And I thought Outrage was kind of lame, to be honest. I thought Outrage was like minor Takeshi Kitano. I was like, dude, you're really, really stretching here. This is like the worst organized crime Yakuza film that you have made in a very long time. Man, this one, it just turns it upside down. This is just relentless. It is bloody. It is awesome. It is hard. It is just rock hard. And I love it.
It's beyond outrage.
It's beyond outrage. And it really is. And I love Takeshi Kitano. I've interviewed the guy. He scared me. He scared me absolutely transparent while I was sitting there in his presence. Did I ever tell you this story?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did tell me that story.
No, he sat because the reason that he's paralyzed in his face. He had a motorcycle accident. He used to be a comic in Japan. He was like Mr. Ha Ha He He, and then he had this motorcycle accident which paralyzed him in his face. Horrible accident, and he wasn't able to be a comic anymore. And he reinvented himself as this like art house filmmaker and these amazing movies. But he's still messed up, and I guess one of his eyes does not self-lubricate. So as I'm sitting there interviewing him, he's got like a little dish with kind of a little moist towelette in there, and he talks to me, and every once in a while he'd sort of pick up the little towelette and he'd like dab his eye in the corner like some kind of Bond villain to sort of like absorb the moisture or whatever. It's like the eye is screwed up. It doesn't work right. It lubricates too much or not enough or I don't know, whatever. But it was I couldn't concentrate on the interview. I'd forget my questions, and he'd like be dabbing, and then I'd be watching, and he'd finish, and then there's this dead silence, and I'm like, I don't even know what I don't even know what he said. I don't even know what the next question is. It was very troubling.
And he has to do that for the rest of his life?
For the rest of his life. Yes, it was very.
What
troubling.
does he do when he's sleeping?
I have no idea, and I don't want to know. I really don't want to know.
What if there's a drought?
I really don't want to know. Anyway, and then we got a Korean thriller here, a Korean action thriller called Commitment. And it's a little bit My Bodyguard-ish, and you know what? All you need to know is it's just there's a whole kind of political thing with the North and the South and Defector, and forget about all of the spy intrigue and all of that. It's just really well made, and it's really interesting, and it's got some really great action, and it's worth checking out. If you like Asian action films, you're going to love it. All right, Mark. Now comes the finale, the grand finale. I'm gonna rock through as many of these as I possibly can. Because I know you hate this. You want to go home. You want this over.
How dare you? That is not true.
Yes, it is. You know you can't stand it. So here we go. We're going to pile through this, right? You ready for this? Anybody out there?
I am so ready.
You got kids? You got kids? I am going to...
You are a kid?
I am going to tell you what your kids will and will not like. Here's what I'm going to tell you. All right? You got kids. All right. Friendship Adventures. Guess How Much I Love You. The Adventures of Little Nut Brown Hair. Mark? Anything with the title, anything that has a character, a little nut brown hair, I'm sorry, that sounds vulgar. My child will not watch this. Very Big Help, Strawberry Shortcake. It's kind of growing on me. Now that I have a daughter, I'm looking at Strawberry Shortcake and I'm not going, stupidest thing in the world. I'm looking at Strawberry Shortcake and I'm thinking, that's kind of cute.
Yeah, but now she's all like computer generated.
It's okay.
It's not as...
It's okay.
Ugh.
She's cute. She's cute. By the way, Peppa Pig. You ever watch Peppa Pig?
All the time.
Love Peppa Pig. It's finally coming out on DVD. When it comes, I am going to go nuts. I'm going to talk about it for like the whole hour. I'm going to talk about Peppa Pig.
Great. Then don't. I will not be there for that show.
British cartoon. Absolutely wonderful. Peppa Pig. Her best friend is Susie Sheep. It's the best thing in the world. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Minnie-rella. Dreams Do Come True. This is from Disney Junior. It is, of course, a computer-generated Cinderella story with Minnie, and all this stuff from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse gives me gas because it's wrong. It's computer-generated. It doesn't look right. We got a lot of Peter Rabbit stuff coming up with Easter and spring and all this, and everybody's getting their Peter Rabbit on. This is Nickelodeon's Peter Rabbit, which is perfectly fine. You know, it's charming and it's nicely animated, and yeah, why not? You know, it's not quintessential classic Peter Rabbit, but sure, I'll go with it. So that's the Nickelodeon Peter Rabbit. And then we also have a Nickelodeon series, Essentially Spring, and these are all re-releases of things that they want you to pay attention to because now it's spring. And one of them is, of course, a Peter Rabbit title, Peter Rabbit Spring into Adventure, which is perfectly charming. This one is Easter with Max and Ruby. I'm watching a lot of Max and Ruby now, actually, too. They're growing on me. They are. Max and Ruby, what? Thumbs up. Dora's Easter Adventure, don't care. Dora creeps me out. I keep thinking of the Smigel short from Saturday Night Live.
That thing is awesome.
Which is awesome. I can't watch Dora the Explorer without thinking of that. Do it, beep, do it. It's just too funny. And the same thing goes for Dora's Egg Hunt. I'm sorry. Dora just, she opens her mouth and I want to slap her. And then more Max and Ruby, Every Bunny Loves Spring. And I got to, Max just makes me laugh. I don't know why. Now that I have a daughter, I look at this and I'm like, that dude's funny. I don't know why I didn't think so before. Batman, Shadows of Gotham. You know, good animation. Not sure that I like all of these different episodes. There are 13 of them here. I didn't watch all 13. Watched just enough to sort of go, this really angular DC animation is getting even more angular, and it's kind of starting to annoy me a little bit. So I'm not so sure I'm into it. Let's see, a couple other Nickelodeon titles here. Animals Everywhere. Not bad. Not bad. You know, this includes this is basically the Bubble Guppies, which I'm kind of getting used to. The Bubble Guppies, you know, they're like little mermaids and stuff, big heads, little, yeah. Not bad. They're it's okay. It's sort of growing on me. I'm not quite sure I'm into it yet, but we'll see. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutagen Mayhem, not good. Really not good. The continued attempts to reinvent the Ninja Turtles is not really working out for me. We've talked about the Drawing with Mark series in the past, and this is for little kids. If you want to, sit them down in front of a DVD and with a pad and paper and have them learn how to draw stuff, this is great. I'm sure I'm going to hang on to this stuff, and that it will be wonderful for my daughter's future as an artist who will be hanging in the Metropolitan Museum of Art someday. It's a goal. Yes. Have you ever been to the Met?
I'm a fan of the New York Mets.
Yeah, but you ever been to the Met
Indeed,
in New York? It's nice.
I'm
sure. Friggin' awesome.
There's paintings and sculptures and restrooms and a bookshop and everything.
So you get to, on each of these, there are 2 different lessons. One is A Day at the Aquarium and Something Fishy. The other one is Good to Grow and Life on the Farm. So a nautical theme and then a farm and backyard agricultural theme. We have an animated Noah's Ark, a complete animated film of Noah's Ark, which is based on a book that I've never heard of. And this, obviously, is being released by Shout Factory because they think that people, and I love Shout Factory, but I'm thinking, if you think that this is going to get any traction from the Russell Crowe film, that people are going to see the Russell Crowe film and go, hey, let's go check out that animated movie that has nothing to do with what we just saw. I don't think that's really going to work. I don't know. Call me silly, but it doesn't sound like it's going to work. A bunch of stuff from PBS Kids. I'm liking these more and more because they are intelligent. The Wild Kratts bugging out. Maybe my least favorite of the PBS Kids titles, but Daniel's Big Feelings, really good. Really cool animation. Very, very nice. This is from Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Also from Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, Life's Little Lessons. Really, really great for the kids, teaching them lessons. They don't feel like the parents are lecturing them. And then Caillou's Garden Adventures from the Caillou series is lovely. This just has a whole sweet kind of Euro animation vibe to it. Really enjoyed that. And then more Peter Rabbit is The New Adventures of Peter Rabbit, which is from the Enchanted Tales line, Family Classics. The Enchanted Tales stuff is a little forced. It feels a little pandering, but it all has the same style. So if you like one, you'll like all the others. It also includes a double feature of Tom Thumb Meets Thumbelina and Princess Castle. Thumb Meets Thumbelina is kind of stupid. They also have a double feature of Treasure Island and Tarzan of the Apes. I kind of like this Tarzan, to be honest. That one I thought was okay. Treasure Island, not so much. And then they have Gulliver's Travels and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I can only think of the Disney feature film Hunchback of Notre Dame, which this is not. This is more like Hunchback. This is more like Beauty and the Hunchback. It's a total Disney pastiche that just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's very strange. And Gulliver's Travels, also not so great. I much prefer the old Fleischer Brothers animated film, which is one of the great original feature-length animated films. I believe it was the second one after Snow White, wasn't it?
It was the third one after Rain Black.
Okay, all right.
So there's Snow White and there's Rain Black.
Okay, I suppose. And then, let's see, is there anything else here worth mentioning? Regular show, I'm not big a fan of that. This is the Mordecai and Margaret pack. Mordecai. I'm going to say Mordecai. Regular show is just one of those Cartoon Network things that it's kind of lost on me. Why, Mark, explain to me, why is animation now all about drawing things as badly as they can possibly look? Like it's Adventure
Cool
Time.
and hip and not corporate. It's got that basement feel to it. A bunch of dudes who are totally rad in your basement, dude.
I guess, whatever.
They stick it to the man.
And Teen Titans Go! No, not so much. Attempting to do the whole, junior DC hero thing. Teen Titans never really worked for me in the comic books, and it really doesn't work for me as these super weird angular deals. And then, lastly... Let's see, I'm going to make mention of only two at the end here, unless, no, Snowflake and the White Gorilla, no, that's just creepy as all can be. Seriously, look at that white gorilla. Is that going to make a child scream or what?
It looks like
It's wrong.
It's a koala bear with a human face.
It has that family-approved thing that they're all coming.
Yeah, but it's the Manson family.
It's creepy. You know what it looks like? You know what that white gorilla looks like in Snowflake?
Oh, I know. He looks like that character from Star Trek.
The Mugato.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you really? Thank
Nerds.
you. Nerds. Do you really want your child? I mean, I guarantee you, the people who made this family approved did not think of that. David Spade, by the way, really good voice characterization on this. Keith David, Christopher Lloyd. They lined up a whole lot of people on this thing, the Snowflake, the White Gorilla. But honestly, I mean, it looks like a Mugato. It's terrifying. And that thing bit Captain Kirk, and then he had to, get the thing that made him all sexually whatever. Anyway. Elmo's World, all about animals, very cute. I still have, some issues with Elmo now that we know that the guy that voiced Elmo is a little, has certain appetites for the underage. But VeggieTales, Veggies in Space, The Fennel Frontier. I'm trying to get with the VeggieTales because I know a lot of kids love the VeggieTales, and I'm not quite there yet. But a lot of the other parents that I know, they're like, no, hang with it. Kids will love it. She'll love it when she sees the cucumbers and the potatoes and the whole. Yeah, all right, okay, I'll hang with you. So anyway, Veggies in Space. I guess it's got a certain charm to it. I'll take somebody's word for it. And so there we go. Mark, done. There we go. So we are done, and we will be back next week. We will still take in your emails and your Vox boxes at gods@digigods.com. Once again, gods@digigods.com. Emails and Vox boxes. Get them to us, and we'll see you guys next week.